White House officials are strategizing on how President Trump should address the issue of affordability. Remember, back when he was a candidate, Trump repeatedly vowed to make America affordable again. But now, as president, he's repeatedly dismissed affordability as a problem, insisting that the economy is great. Sources tell CNN that Trump's advisors are telling him that is a bad idea, that he should not downplay the fact that Americans feel squeezed by rising prices. They've even discussed having him travel the country to give economy-focused speeches. So what do the numbers and the data actually show? CNN's Daniel Dale is here with a fact check. Daniel, let's go overall prices first. Here is what President Trump has said.
If you look at affordability, which they campaigned on, they lied because they talked about, oh, prices are up. No, prices are down under the Trump administration, and they're down substantially. The reason I don't want to talk about affordability is because everybody knows that it's far less expensive under Trump than it was under Sleepy Joe Biden, and the prices are way down.
Daniel, what do the numbers say?
None of that is true, Boris. Prices are up during this administration. There has been inflation every month of this administration. Moreover, the pace of inflation has accelerated now for 5 consecutive months. It hit 3% in September, so prices in September were 3% higher than they were a year prior, and they were 1.7% higher than they were in January, the month that President Trump returned to office. Now, he keeps saying that every single price is down. I think the overall numbers show that is clearly not true, and I think Americans know that. If you look at the CPI, Consumer Price Index data, it'll show you that thousands of individual products have increased in price since President Trump returned to the White House.
Here's what he said about grocery store prices.
Beef we have to get down, but we've got prices way down.
You think prices are coming down from this?
I believe that, yeah. I think they're coming down, but I think they're down already.
Our groceries are way down. Everything is way down. And the press doesn't report it. The press reports whatever the con people say. You know, I call the Democrats con men and women. They make up numbers.
Just to be clear, Daniel, what are grocery prices like, and are these numbers made up?
They are made up, Boris. So grocery prices as well are up since President Trump returned to office. They were up 1.4% since January. They're up 2.7% compared to a year prior. Grocery prices are up in 5 of the 6 overarching categories of products that are tracked by the Consumer Price Index. Now, President Trump keeps saying it's only beef that's up. Yes, beef has experienced one of the biggest increases, but it's far from only beef. Again, far more products in the grocery aisle have increased than decreased. Other big risers include coffee and bananas, 2 products that are heavily imported in the U.S. and thus are subject to President Trump's major tariffs on those items.
Yeah, the president also frequently touts energy prices as going down. What does the cost of gas look like?
Yeah, so he said 2 things last week on this subject that weren't true either. So he said that gas is just a bit above $2. The national average is above $3. It's about a 307. 308 at this moment. Second of all, he said that gas prices have plummeted to the lowest level in 2 decades. First of all, they haven't plummeted. As of today, they are just about identical to what they were a year ago today, about $3.08 according to AAA. Maybe they've increased a fraction of a cent if you go to multiple decimal places, but at least near identical. And second, it's clearly not the lowest in 2 decades. Not only was it lower during, of course, the COVID pandemic when demand crashed, not only was it lower at various points in the 2010s and the 2000s, it was also lower on various days this year in January under President Biden. So both parts of that claim just not true, just like most of President Trump's claims about prices these days are just not true either.
Daniel Dale, thank you so much for walking us through that fact check.
Now, I want to talk about prices. If you ask the White House, they say that they are down and that the economy is booming. Everyday Americans are not quite feeling it.
Every time I go to the grocery store, I am shocked.
For 11 items, I paid $40.38. You heard that right.
The 1 pound of ground beef I got was $9 a pint. A pint of blueberries was $6.
When was a box of cereal $9.29?
I didn't realize how quickly they raised the rent prices, and I'm out here asking y'all to buy my album.
Cardi B there. So the president claims that Democrats have fooled the public into thinking that there's an affordability crisis.
It was a con job. It was a con job. Affordability, they call it, was a con job by the Democrats. The reason I don't want to talk about affordability is because everybody knows that it's far less expensive under Trump than it was under Sleepy Joe Biden.
Okay, group chat is back. I wanted to talk about this because, in effect, one would think the most recent presidential election, Trump won because people thought he could change the price thing. Not that they didn't agree with him that it was Biden's fault, but now it's his economy. So they're like, where is it?
Well, veterans of the Biden administration will tell you that telling voters that they're wrong about how they feel about prices is not usually a winning political strategy. And for him to go out there and say, no, things aren't expensive, And, they'll point to like this statistic or that statistic that inflation is down. Well, the rate of inflation is down. Inflation is still at 2 to 3%. That still means prices are rising, and they are not going, he promised we're going to bring prices down. They are not down compared to what the inflation was during Biden.
Well, even here at CNN, Harry Etzen reported that per Gallup, the percentage of Americans who said the economy was their number one concern, it fell from about 45% this time last year to around 23% this year. So people are feeling overall less anxious. Again, not to take away.
That the polling is showing people did not consider immigration a top issue?
No, the economy.
Okay.
It was this time last year, the economy was their top concern. I apologize.
So the election doesn't play into that.
Well, I'm saying is people overall, they are feeling better about the economy. When you're looking at business sentiment, when you're looking at gas prices are at a record low for 4 years. And the overall inflation, when you compare Trump versus Biden, the run rate for Biden, it was 5% cumulative versus 2.5% for Trump.
Does it make you feel like an ex-Biden person running through the numbers like that? I remember talking to the Biden White House, and people they were so annoyed with me for kind of asking, like, well, you're giving a lot of numbers here, but people don't feel it. When you're saying all the numbers, does it feel a little like Sisyphean, right? Like you're pushing the boulder up the hill?
Well, it's true that it ultimately does come to the gut check for people. I do think that prices, the number one expense for most people is housing. And that's part of why President Trump has been pushing on the Federal Reserve so much to lower the interest rates, because that is going to affect the prices.
But also,
for
Antoine,
housing.
offering a 50-year mortgage. What do you think of, like you said, a lesson has been learned. So how do you talk about this now?
Well, first of all, every single metric of how we measure the economy has proven that Maganomics has been a failure. We've lost 1 million jobs since Donald Trump has taken office in January. Consumer confidence is down. So that tells me...
And I think we have that number. It's down 30%.
It's down. So that tells me that microeconomics, macroeconomics, and the most important measure, feelonomics, has indicated that Americans are feeling the pain.
It's not called it's called vibe session. It's vibe-onomics.
So that means that everyday Americans have suffered a hoodwink because Donald Trump promised to bring prices down. Instead, everything is up. Gas, groceries, electricity, rent, you name it. Americans can claim it that it's up.